some of the technologies that we see the children of today using might translate to helping them in their future as, in this case, potentially as architects or building designers. And you talked about the advantage that some of these digital natives are going to have. Can you share a little bit about how some of these technologies, and maybe a specific example of one or two that some of these younger digital natives are using that could translate into a workplace advantage for them?
If you think about the spaces that we're building today, digital natives will enter that space. So leases are still extending out to that moment. And so we've begun to realize that it's not going to be adequate for this generation. So raising a digital native and the addiction to Minecraft, if you will, on a server, they can share their worlds and they can build things for each other, or someone might not know how to do something and so they can go into their world, fix it for them. So they're all starting to join in on these communities. And so it was really interesting to think about how could that come into the workplace. When they enter, will they be able to dictate what their space is about? If they need time for yoga, or if they need to make this phone call, but you just have this big room, can they divide it up in a different way using hopefully holograms or something like that, that could start to shape their world that they live in, what they need at the moment?
So maybe this is to build on that, a question for everyone. Are these technologies that some of the youth of today are using that as parents maybe we scoff at?
Yeah.
Is it actually bringing a new perspective on imagination that ultimately they'll be able to apply to growing up, becoming an adult, and actually getting a job?
Mm-hmm. I think so. They're having to, especially whenever I started realizing that they're joining worlds together, there is a responsibility. If I just bring it back to Minecraft, you can burn down someone's house, not meaning to, if you leave like one of the lava blocks on. So there's a responsibility that they have to each other, not to mess with it too much and to make it better, or that's kind of what we're trying to teach. And so I think those same principles come into the workplace. You need to work together. You're trying to create something for the greater good. And I definitely think they're just adapting and they're more fluid with devices, and it's built for them. So I think it's definitely going to translate into the workplace.
I'd also add that the immediacy of information is teaching them that they need to get info very fast. Mm-hmm. And so their skill may not be to be an expert at a topic, but how quickly they can learn a new topic. And that will actually change the education system and then the way that we hire and provide support for these future workers.
They're already starting to watch the YouTube. This fascinated me at first, when they would start watching the YouTube videos of someone playing the game. And it was like a mentor program almost, where they could pick up these tips and tricks of what could help them become better.